Donald Trump just went off on the grifter class. The Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, all these people that all they've done is talk about Trump. Most of them, by the way, became famous and rich off of Trump. Okay? And now they're speaking on the man who changed the direction of this country for the better. No other politician ever done what Donald J. Trump has done. And what do? They turn on him because they don't like one little thing. You know what it is? These people are trying to take the MAGA movement because they think once Trump is gone, the MAGA movement is going to fracture and they're trying to grasp it. That's all this is about. Power and control and taking part of the movement. These people don't care about the country. If they did, they would have loved the fact that Donald Trump is actually shifting the divide of the New World Order, bringing the control back to our hemisphere. They should be celebrating. Trump is doing things no one thought could ever be done.
Now, President Trump took to Truth Social to slam his former friends who say they are over his war in Iran. The president writing, quote, "I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon because they have one thing in common," he says, low IQs, end quote. Carlson just called for the U.S. to detach from Israel. Kelly says that Trump, quote, allowed himself to be pushed into this conflict by Netanyahu. And Jones has called on Trump's cabinet to use the 25th Amendment to oust him from the Oval Office. President Trump says he has the support of MAGA, and in a phone interview today said he is, quote, very optimistic that a peace deal with Iran is within reach. And he says Iran has been conquered. His vice president is set to lead those negotiations in Pakistan this weekend alongside his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, though Iran is warning the U.S. that Israel could kill any chance at diplomacy by continuing attacks on Lebanon.
With the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically, must stop. My attorneys and I have fought these unfounded and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation. To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize and retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and HarperCollins.
Trump just did something that has the entire political world melting down. And honestly, when I first saw that tweet, I thought it was a joke. I'm not even kidding. I looked at it and thought, there's no way this is real. But when you read it, it's very real. And here's the thing. This is where I'm going to be honest with you. I don't love the way he said it. I don't love the rhetoric. I don't love calling people low IQ. I don't love going after people's appearance. I don't love bringing spouses into it. That's just not how I move. And I think there's a level of conduct that should come with being president when it comes to that line, right? Coming after people's spouses or whatever. But this is the part that people on the left and everyone, even some on the right, are going to completely ignore. Just because I don't like how he said it does not mean what he said wasn't true. And that's the conversation nobody wants to have right now. Everybody wants to clutch their pearls and say, oh my gosh, Trump said something mean again. Like this is breaking news. This man has been the same exact person for years. He's consistent. You knew what you were getting when you voted for him. At the end of the day, I knew what we were getting when he were president, right? So I'm saying I would not go that far. If anything, I'll walk away, let it be bygones be bygones. But look, I've said before, the man probably needs someone to take his phone away every now and then. Just double check before he hits send. But that doesn't mean there isn't truth behind what he's saying. He's human, and at the end of the day, you get fed up with stuff. However, even though you get fed up with stuff, sometimes, like I said, let bygones be bygones. And what he did here is he called people out by name. And I actually think that matters. I don't have an issue with calling people out directly when they're doing something publicly, but just addressing a person, not their intellect, not their spouse, but addressing a person. If you have a platform with millions of followers, you don't get to operate in the shadows and throw shots without accountability. So when Trump calls out people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and others, the real question is, was he nice about it? The real question is he right? Right? The real question isn't, was he nice about it? The real question is he right? I'm going to say it again for the people in the back correctly. And that's what we're going to break down today, because there's a bigger issue happening here on the right that nobody seems to want to address. Honestly, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's take this a little bit further about what's going on here, because this isn't just about a tweet. This is about influence, power, and responsibility on the right. You got major figures, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, Megyn Kelly, people with massive audiences, millions of followers shaping how conservatives think, shaping narratives, and yes, in some cases, dragging Trump publicly. Now, let's be clear about something. You absolutely have the right to criticize the president. I don't care if it's Trump, Biden, or anybody else. If they're doing something wrong, you should speak up. That's part of living in a constitutional republic. That's part of free speech. But there's a difference between honest criticism and what we're seeing right now, which in many cases looks like platform building off of controversy. When you constantly say, we're close, we're almost there, any day now, something big is coming, and you've been saying that for months, even years at some point, people have to start asking, what are you actually delivering? Because what it starts to look like is you're using Trump, you're using the MAGA movement, and you're using outrage to keep people engaged, to keep clicks coming in, to keep money flowing. And Trump called that out. Now and again, did he do it in the most polished way? No, not even close. The man sounds like someone whose prom date broke up with him and he just got access to Twitter. But that doesn't automatically make him wrong. And here's the problem. When he mixes in exaggerations or straight up false statements, like going after someone's appearance or throwing out blanket insults, it gives his critics ammunition, is my point. Which is why I say I don't believe he should do it. Because what the media and even some people on the right would do is latch on to the weakest part of what he said and ignore everything else. They'll say, look how mean he is. Look how unpresidential he is. And they'll completely avoid addressing whether or not these influencers are actually misleading people or profiting off of division. And that's the game that's being played. And Trump, whether intentionally or not, plays right into it sometimes. But let's not pretend this is one-sided, because the people he's calling out are not above criticism either. You got individuals making claims, pushing narratives, sometimes mixing truth or speculation, sometimes going down rabbit holes that don't lead anywhere, and their audiences eat it up. And if you dare question it, you are the problem. It's not healthy. That's not how a movement stays grounded. If we're going to hold Trump accountable, we also have to hold these commentators accountable. You can't demand truth on one side and give a pass to the other because you like them more. And that brings us to the deeper issue here, because this isn't just about personalities. It's about the direction of the conservative movement, and whether it stays rooted in reality, facts, and constitutional principles, or rather it drifts into constant internal fighting and speculation. And when you look at the Constitution, when you look at the founders' intent, the entire system was built on accountability, checks and balances, and informed citizens, not blind loyalty, not emotional reactions, informed judgment. And that means evaluating claims based on evidence, not just who said it. Now, and at the same time, there are legitimate concerns that people are raising, and we shouldn't ignore that either. Questions about transparency, about investigations, things like Epstein, JFK, MLK. People want answers. They feel like there's lack of accountability from institutions, and that frustration is real. But here's the danger. When you don't have solid evidence and you start filling in the gaps with speculation, you lose credibility. And once credibility is gone, it doesn't matter how right you are on the issues or on other issues, people stop listening. That's why it's so important to be precise. If you're going to criticize someone like Candace Owens, then point to exactly what she said that's wrong. Break it down, explain why it's wrong. Don't just throw labels, because that doesn't convince anyone who already supports her. The same applies across the board. That's how you actually win the argument. Strengthen your argument, not your ad hominem attacks, right? Or as another words and say, strengthen your argument, not your voice. You can scream loud all you want. Doesn't mean that you have substance. So at the end of the day, this whole situation comes down to something very simple. Truth matters, accuracy matters, delivery matters, and accountability matters. Trump is not wrong to call people out if they're misleading others or using their platform irresponsibly, but he does himself no favors when he muddies the waters with unnecessary attacks. And the people he's calling out are not victims here. They have massive platforms of real influence, and with that comes with responsibility. And if you're going to speak to millions of people, you better make sure what you're saying is grounded in reality, not just speculation or what gets the most engagement, because the stakes are too high. And we're talking about the direction of the country, constitutional rights, and policies that affect millions of Americans. And this isn't just content. And when you have people on the right saying things like, let Democrats win or we'll reset later, that's not just wrong, that's dangerous. Because history shows once that power is handed over, it's not easily given back. So yeah, I understand why Trump is frustrated. I understand why he spoke out. I just think there's a smarter way to do it that will make his message hit even harder. But regardless of how you feel about the tweet, don't get distracted by the delivery to the point where you ignore the substance. Ask yourself the real question: is there truth in what he's saying? And let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications so you don't miss the next one. Catch you in the next one, family. Peace.